Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Mobile Attribution and You. For those who don't know me, my name's Danielle Johansson. I'm an account manager and have been working on the client services team here at Commission Factory for the last 4 years. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to today's guest, JX from Appslayer. JX has 6-year experience in ad tech and martech and has led teams in global and regional brands such as Smotto and AdAsia. He is currently based in Bangkok and holds regular talks about mobile attribution, marketing analytics, real-time bidding, and affiliate partners across APAC. JX has a long-time love for Australia, with his first visit at 7 years old to see the Gold Coast and hang out with Batman. With no further ado, I'd like to introduce you to JX. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you so much for having me. And I hope that today I'll be able to shed some light on what's a very important toolkit in every marketer's arsenal.
Fantastic.
So welcome, everybody. My name is JX Lim, and I work with Appslayer. So today I'll be sharing with you about how mobile attribution works, especially with Appslayer and the entire mobile ecosystem. To share a little bit about Appslayer, Appslayer is the mobile authority in this space. We are obsessive about data. We care a lot about data cleanliness, data integrity, and data actionality. That is what we do. This is why we are the first fully unbiased platforms out there. We're one of the last mobile measurement solutions with no paid products for ad networks, with no conflicts of interest. This is why we are trusted by the market to decide and adjudicate performance, and we do it in an incredible scale. With 14 global offices delivering in-region experience, relationships, customer support, and dedicated account management, we offer true 24/7 dedicated support to all customers. For example, as established Western brands look to grow in the East, we bring dedicated exclusive partnerships with all the leading Chinese, Japanese, and Korean networks, including Tencent, Baidu, and Line. Similarly, we work closely with the Asia mobile powerhouses like Alibaba, TikTok, 360 Security, facilitating partnerships with key Western providers to help them scale across the globe. So in this session, we'll go a little bit deeper into how the Australian mobile landscape is doing. We'll go into some detail about why mobile attribution is essential. And finally, the meat of the soup is how we're going to get from install to ROI. To share a little bit about how Australia's mobile landscape is doing, Australia is a wonderful kind of landmass, but one of the things that we currently do see that in Australia is that the top apps active in Australia are not homegrown. There's a lot of opportunities that we feel for homegrown apps from Australia to seize ground. Quite often, what we see that the homegrown apps do take charge in the finance and fitness category. So some of these big companies that we work with, for example, are companies like Centre, which Chris Hemsworth's app, as well as 86400, which is a nano app based out of Australia.
JX, what does Australia do best?
That's a really great question. From what we have observed and our experience in Australia, there's a really strong community of advertisers and networks in Australia. Everything kind of works off of word of mouth, which I think is quite rare even in Asia. I think that is something that I think the rest of the world and Asia can emulate from Australia. What Australia also does best are apps in the fitness, finance, gaming, and productivity category. And this is something that, again, quite rare that we see that there's such a wide distribution of strong developers in the region.
JX, are there any areas which you think Australia can improve on?
Yeah, so absolutely. Currently, what we see is that reliance on paid ad campaigns are low. What we know from success of ad campaigns in Southeast Asia that a paid strategy with positive return on advertising spend or ROAS is often better than organic alone. We also see many ANZ advertisers running web campaigns to drive users to apps, and there needs to be a shift in strategy for those who want success. So we would like to see more ANZ advertisers scale their app promotion efforts with great networks like yourselves and other excellent partners out there. And what we have seen in Australia in 2020, ever since the start of the year, has been the e-commerce operators have been surging. So they have gotten a lot of installs. But what we also kind of see as a big challenge for them is they struggle to keep up the demand and to scale their business up appropriately. Gaming advertisers similarly have experienced a boom as they see new opportunity for revenue. But again, I think it's a very common issue when we're talking about like how do you get the users who have installed your app to become paying customers? And finally, one of the more surprising kind of developments that we have seen in Australia in 2020 has been that social sharing as well as video editing apps are top winners in Australia as more installs are happening on their apps. Certainly, it speaks a lot about what are the priorities for Australians. Let's get it now that we talk about what's happening in Australia. Let's look at some of the data. We have seen more mobile e-commerce operators get an install spike at the start of the year and peaking recently in the end of May and June. The real challenge ultimately we see for e-commerce advertisers and operators is how they convert those installs to paying customers. So the next one, another challenge for them is getting those users to come back to their app. And we'll go into how they kind of like their revenue and their sales have kind of changed throughout the year. So here you can see there's app revenue and app sessions for shopping advertisers. So you can see the blue line is app revenue and app sessions is in the teal line, the light blue line. So what you can see is the app sessions have mostly maintained the same, but app revenue has not. What this means is that users have started to go in at the start of the Australian government's kind of enacting an emergency decree to lock people down. People have said, "Oh, I still need to buy my groceries. I still need to buy food." So we have seen these e-commerce operators have seen their revenue go up subsequently. But there's a dovetail in revenue before returning back in May. And this is a very important strategy for all advertisers, retailers, and merchants. It's because there's a large increase in installs doesn't mean that you will see a large increase in sales as well. And the challenge is always, of course, how are we going to make them come back to become regular shoppers over time again? And it's these things that kind of go hand in hand. With increase in purchases and installs, it also means fraud rates have increased among shopping advertisers in Australia. This is a very big challenge for all retailers and advertisers, and an important thing to consider as they scale their marketing budgets. Not just isolated app installs, it also refers to purchases. A purchase can be fraudulent in a few ways. One way that is often overlooked could be that the purchase is made with a stolen credit card. While this is, of course, at a much smaller scale, it is something that all retailers and marketers need to be watch out for, so as it can hurt their brand. Another way a purchase can be affected by fraud is when, for example, you're working with Commission Factory and Commission Factory brought the original purchase to you. But when a fraudulent ad network or fraudulent affiliate defrauds you and Commission Factory, this causes retailers and marketers to instead spend more time and money going after the fraudulent affiliate instead of working more with the original affiliate. So that's just two of the kind of common ways that mobile ad fraud can affect you as a retailer.
JX, how do you feel advertisers can retain their customers?
So that's a really great question, and I think it's a part of how Appslayer kind of educates our advertisers regarding long lifetime value. So, or Appslayer, one of the key metrics that we always want to bring across to advertisers is lifetime value. How do they go from install to purchase and then being a lifelong customer of yours? So, pertinent to that question is how can we make those customers become more retained within your app. So one of the key ways that we always share with our advertisers is to retarget those customers. Appslayer, we help advertisers and marketers do this through the data we present to our advertisers. Advertisers can use this data to entice users to return to the app or site. For example, you can use the device ID and revenue data Appslayer provides to aggregate for you to target high spending customers to return to your app and make purchases on your site or app. This is definitely a big challenge because I think everybody is always interested in the new hot app at that time, but they always return to it later. But savvy advertisers, savvy retailers and marketers always have a plan for something like that. And what we also see is that why retargeting is important is that the average share of non-organic installs due to retargeting efforts are 52% in May of 2020 from our data. And this is I think really pertinent because somebody can install your app today and uninstall it the next week. So and if you know that if you as a marketer and retailer know that they are your key demographic, they are your key audience, they're your key buyers, it's always important to retarget them and make them come back to your app and become a loyal user. So the next question is, now that we kind of discussed about what happened in Australia, let's talk about a little bit about why mobile attribution is really important. Mobile attribution is difficult. It's simply not easy. Appslayer, we're connected to over 6,000 partners around the world and working with 75% of global apps around the world. And doing it by yourself is not easy. It is best done by a specialist. Unifying and connecting all the fragmented parts of mobile web, mobile apps, referrer, Google Advertising ID, device ID is extremely complicated. And mobile attribution connects all the pieces together, including Commission Factory. For those who are unaware, how Appslayer does it is through one universal SDK. An SDK, or software development kit, is basically a pre-arranged software that you're able to install to your app. Some SDKs help publish advertising on your app, while others help you understand user behavior and measure and attribute the correct affiliates and networks tied to purchases, like Appslayer. For Appslayer, we allow marketers to measure everything from impressions and clicks all the way through to purchase, in-app activity, retention, and much more. Through our single SDK, you can enable nearly 6,000 partners without needing another SDK. We sync your data to you. You just have to click to enable the partner, and you can even sync custom audience data to do retargeting or lookalike user acquisition targeting. So this allows you as the advertiser / marketer to do it in a simpler, cleaner, easier, and faster way. So how many times have you seen an ad and when you click on it, it doesn't redirect, it doesn't go anywhere? And this is a fairly common issue when you do not have mobile attribution. So the solution to this is what on Appslayer side we refer to as one link or deep linking. So deep linking uses attribution data that Appslayer collects on your behalf to route the user to give the user contextually relevant experience. So typically what would happen is that when the user has the app, Appslayer would direct the user to a specific page where the advertisement says that, oh, for example, would you like to buy Nike shoes? They will click on the ad saying they would like to buy Nike shoes, and then the link will bring them to the correct page on your app for them to buy Nike shoes. If they don't have the app, typically what will happen is that you can direct the user to your website or to the download page where they can download the app and then make that purchase or make the purchase on your website. And deep linking is extremely crucial because Appslayer's one link allows advertisers and retailers and marketers to give context. It gives context to the ads that your audience is meant to see. If the user has app installed, they're able to see the ad. They'll be able to make the purchase immediately. If not, they will be able to be part of that to make that sale through your site or app. Big part of why mobile attribution is important is the broken flow conundrum. To put it simply, how the reason for this disconnect between kind of the broken flow is because the apps are siloed. They don't all speak the same language. They are not all part of the same framework. And usually different apps have different kind of frameworks that are very fragmented. In other words, not all apps speak the same language, and they're not all part of the same family. And typically, even just within the top two operating systems in the world, iOS and Android, these don't really speak well to each other. So how are you going to connect a user who is using an Android versus when they're using their iOS device or when they're using their email to connect them with them through their email or SMS? So there's no way to detect the device or whether the user has even your app installed if you don't have mobile attribution. And typically what happens is that a regular app link can't route to in-app content, only to a default home screen. And this broken flow conundrum results in losing customers and users and in a low performing app. That's something really important to consider. On the mobile attribution side and measurement side, what can usually happen is that when you don't have mobile attribution, you could be working with an affiliate, and the affiliate brings you a purchase. However, if you're working with 3 different affiliates without mobile attribution, you won't be able to tell which affiliate provided that purchase. And you could end up paying 3 different affiliates for that same purchase. So that definitely eats into your margin, and definitely eats into how efficient that you can get those users get those customers to come back to you. So mobile attribution is really important so that you don't pay for 3 scoops of ice cream for only 1 scoop that you get from the customer. It's important to be able to see your data in one place. So for Appslayer, how we do that is we connect cross-funnel, meaning that whether that sale or that install came from any kind of location, we are able to bring it all into one dashboard. We can do it across cross-network. So whether it's coming from Commission Factory or from your own in-house email campaigns, we're able to help that decipher that for you. And you're able to see the entire user journey from click all the way to purchase. So, and we'll be able to follow where did they do it, how did they do it, when did they do it. The final reason why mobile attribution is very important for all marketers, especially mobile marketers, is fraud. And it's important to use attribution technology to block fraud and to stop paying for fake users and losing your ROI. Fraudsters constantly develop new types of mobile app fraud, stealing both organic and non-organic users through techniques such as click flooding, malware-based clicks, install hijacking, and resetting device IDs at a huge scale. So according to a 2017 Appslayer study, just over 10% of installs globally were fraudulent. And this costs advertisers between $2.2 to $2.6 billion. If you ignore fraud and tend to deal with it on your own, you're throwing money away. And you're throwing money away to the wrong places. Potentially you're going to miss out on reaching actual users. Attribution providers, we are the best equipped to fight fraud with our resources, our tools, our expertise, and most importantly, our massive cross-network scale. The bottom line is, let a reliable, unbiased attribution provider do the heavy tech lifting and fraud blocking so that you can focus on the market strategy as well as building a strong user base. Now, we have understood a little bit about why mobile attribution is important. So let's take a look into some of the little kind of details and how it kind of works so that you don't get hoodwinked by fraudsters. So how it works is that an attribution provider, we receive signals. So the signals in general, we receive them, we sort them out, and we attribute them to the right source and inform the relevant parties what they need to know. We receive clicks and impressions from media sources such as Commission Factory. We get additional context from the app stores, and we get signals from our SDK that's inside your app. We then decide which media source to attribute the signal to and report it to the advertiser through advertiser visualization. And with advertiser permission, we can inform the media source, Commission Factory, that was responsible for being the user there. Finally, we can also inform marketing and product analytics solutions that there was an install, there was a purchase. Please send them an in-app notification, send them an SMS, send them an email so they can come up and buy more things from you. So when we're talking about the 99% of the basic matching flow of a purchase, this is kind of what it looks like. The unsuspecting user is on 9.com.msn, and he or she sees an advertisement and she says, I really like to buy some shoes. Like I love shoes, I want to buy some shoes. They click on the advertisement, and behind that is Commission Factory. Commission Factory sees the click, and they will direct the user to the Appslayer server. The Appslayer server would then direct the user to the app's purchase page. Once there, the user can make the purchase, and our SDK, Appslayer's SDK, software development kit, as we discussed just now, will then pick up on this signal and then say, hey, there was a purchase. Can we please check if Commission Factory was the one that responsible for this purchase? We will match with the click. We would then inform you, the advertiser, that there was a purchase or an install, and then we will also inform Commission Factory through a postback. And this all kind of comes together through a very simple attribution logic called last touch. So last touch is very straightforward. Let's say you're working with 3 affiliates, 3 networks that will bring you that purchase. On day 10, a user may open the app after clicking on several advertisements. They will make a purchase. Because Commission Factory was the last network or affiliate that they clicked the advertisement on, they are automatically the winner based on last touch attribution logic. The other affiliates or networks will basically be assigned as assisting for that install or purchase. Another important aspect of attribution is what we call attribution matching or match type. And there are 3 attribution match types that I would like to cover today. The first one is ID matching. So when you think of ID, think of it as the passport of the device. Every person has one passport. Similarly, every device has one device ID that's unique to it. What happens is that Appslayer, we will check the device ID at the click. We will check the device ID after the app is open. Then we will check if the same device ID matches with the one with the click and when we open when app is open for the first time. If it matches, that is how we call ID matching. Fairly straightforward. The second kind of attribution matching is what we call referral matching. So think of referrer as a stamp at the nightclub that you get when you go to the nightclub. So Appslayer, when the phone or device is clicking on the ad, we will give the phone a stamp. And when you're inside the app store, we will give it another stamp. And when you open the app, we will compare both of these stamps together at the start of the click and when you enter the app store. And then from there, we were able to see that, okay, both stamps match, and that was what we call referral matching. Really, really straightforward. The last one, not as straightforward, is what we call ephemeral matching. So ephemeral matching, think of it as basically matching based upon a mode. Less accurate than a stamp or passport. Basically, what will happen is the Appslayer, we will check if a certain device has a certain mode, and we look at the mode based on some technical kind of data and signals, such as like device language, device OS, your carrier type, your IP. Once we see that certain mode within that certain period of time, we will check if the mode matches after the purchase happens. Once there's a match, then we confirm that there's a purchase, and we inform commission factory that was a purchase, and we inform the advertiser there's a purchase. So as we talked about just now, then we talk about three attribution methods: device ID, referrer, and ephemeral matching. Important thing to know is that for device ID matching and referrer matching, they are highly deterministic match types. Therefore, they're also highly accurate. For referrer matching, it only works on Android devices, not on iOS devices. This is because the iOS store, iTunes, doesn't really work with us to provide referrer. So it's difficult for us to be able to do referrer matching on iOS devices. For ephemeral matching, the mode matching type is often very probabilistic. Therefore, it is less accurate. This is because often devices can share a certain mode, especially in countries like Australia, where a device can share the same carrier, language, Wi-Fi, and cell tower as another device. So if you're using the same iOS device as another user, and both of you are using Telstra, for example, and both of you may be in the same building, one person making a click resulting in a purchase can be matched to another person, even though they may not be responsible for that click or purchase. Important thing to note, a click with ephemeral matching will always lose to a click with device ID or referrer, regardless of the timestamp. That means that even if a click with ephemeral matching was the latest click based on last touch attribution, they will always lose out to a click with device ID or referrer, because a click with ID or referrer is more accurate than ephemeral matching. Finally, let's take a look at the attribution hierarchy. A stronger touch type will always win a weak touch type, regardless of its attribution method and timestamp. So when we're talking about touch type, it could be an impression where someone sees the ad versus someone clicks on the ad. Obviously, clicking on the ad is a stronger action, so a stronger touch type. So it's the most important. Second, attribution method. As we discussed just now, ID matching, referrer matching always wins against ephemeral matching. Finally, it's the timestamp. When did the click occur? Stronger attribution method will always win to a weak attribution method. So when we're thinking about what is the strongest match type, we look at a click with any attribution method will always beat an impression. Then we look at attribution method, referrer and ID matching versus ephemeral matching. And then finally, the timestamp.
Thank you, JX. That was amazing and so insightful. We have some listeners who have already sent through some questions, so thank you for that. If you haven't done so already, please, there's still time, please submit some. We might get started with the first question now, if you don't mind, JX.
Yep.
The first question we have is, what can mobile data tell us how mobile shopping has performed from the beginning of the year?
I think yeah, so that's a beautiful and great question. Mobile data has shown us that mobile shopping has great legs in general, and it is definitely the future for the world, because almost everybody has a smartphone. Definitely more countries that are mobile first. In Australia, it's starting to become, I think, very prominent as not only what we've seen is that we have gotten a lot of feedback from advertisers and retailers about how they should build their apps and should they build it with, and who can they work with to scale their customer base, how can they retarget customers. So it's so mobile shopping from the data has a lot of legs and will improve greatly in the user base, in changing how customers will how people buy things in general.
Okay, we have another question. Do you store any PII, or otherwise known as personally identifiable information?
Absolutely not. So that's a great question. Absolutely not. So Appslayer, we are a GDPR processor, and part of our responsibility as a responsible GDPR processor is that we do not store any personal identifiable information or personal identifiable data. So the things that we look at are relevant to your device, not relevant to you. So we will look at things such as your IP, your carrier, at the most maybe your device ID. We won't look into things like, for example, your name, your address, your location. Yeah.
Okay, that's really reassuring to know as a big online shopper myself. I don't want everyone to know everything I'm purchasing. We have another question. Someone has said that they don't pay on installs, they pay affiliates on sales. They want to know what % of fraudulent transactions are app installs versus purchase fraud.
I would definitely say that app install fraud is definitely way more than purchase fraud. Purchase fraud in general kind of ties together back to app install fraud. The reason, so let's cover it in kind of two parts. App install fraud is way easier, much easier compared to purchase fraud. How you could do app install fraud for all the fraudsters out there, some tips is that you could, for example, spam commission factory with millions and millions and millions of clicks a day, and eventually that click will will result in a purchase. So that's a very straightforward way, because you have millions of clicks, one of them is bound to install something. But someone to make a purchase through millions and millions of clicks, far less likely. The second part of it is that if an app install can result, a fraudulent app install can result in a purchase if there are enough installs that you've done. The important thing to note also is not that whether purchase fraud is more than app install fraud, but how does fraudulent install fraud affects your purchase, your kind of purchase pattern, how you analyze your users, how you analyze how they behave, and how you optimize your app. And in Appslayer, we often say you can't measure what you don't know. So if the data that you're getting is wrong in the first place, you won't be able to optimize correctly in the first place.
Very interesting. We have time for one more question. How have users reacted to Australia's lockdown and lift?
Funny question and great question as well. What we've seen is that in general, in Australia, ever since the lockdown, social apps such as Facebook and Instagram, outstanding growth. What we have seen, at least even with Facebook, for example, they have publicly they publicly shared that they are at the start of the lockdown around the world and in Australia, there was a 4,000% increase in traffic, meaning tons of people just went to Facebook to learn what's happening, understand what can they do about it, and what other people are thinking about it. Big part of it is also at the start of the lockdown has been that social sharing apps, especially video editing apps, as well as like companies like TikTok have seen a massive increase, and they still see a massive increase. I think this is really something that is quite unique to Australia. And after the lift, what we have also seen is that there was a kind of gradual shift where kind of Australians who are stuck at home were moving towards downloading fitness apps as well as yoga apps to get back into the swing of things. One thing I'm always kind of amazed at Australians is their absolute love of sport and their absolute love of the outdoors. Not that easy for me sitting in Bangkok.
Yeah, it's been a very different time for us, not able to get outdoors as much as we'd like to. I do actually, oh, no, we don't have time for one more question. Thank you to everyone who's joined us today. And again, a big thank you to JX. That was absolutely amazing. As usual, for those who have registered, we'll follow up shortly with the webinar content link so you can watch back all your favorite parts. If you have any other questions, please feel free to email marketing@commissionfactory.com or feel free to speak to your Commission Factory account manager. So thank you again to everyone who joined us in JX, and enjoy the rest of your day and week ahead.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Danielle.